Welcome to March Madness. Here we are. Well, the cowl is out. I elected to give up the grinding and cutting and go back to drilling spot welds. One important thing you need to know. From here to here, those spot welds across the middle don't matter. They don't do anything. So don't waste your time like I did. You can see just how rusted this is, but there was a lot of holes to drill. 2 layers of spot welds, the upper, the lower. Front was easier. I was able to use I just cut the top cowl off and was able to use a pair of large channel locks and just pry and pop what was left of the upper cowl. It pretty much just snapped off, but I still had to drill out spot welds on the lower from the firewall. It's a mess. Important things to note. There are bolts you need to remove before you can remove this. On the back side of the dash, you've got this big metal bracket with your steering wheel column connected to it. There's a bolt here, and a bolt there, 1/2 inch head. In the center holding your fan, apparently on air conditioning cars, not non-air conditioned, because the brackets to attach to are not on the new cowl, but there is a bolt here, 5/16, a bolt here, 3/8, a bolt there, it's 3/8. And then there was a ground wire attached. Maybe that was the 5/16. I don't remember. Also on this side of the firewall, you have a bolt in this bar that has to come out. So until you unbolt all this, your cowl does not come off. That side of the dash will fall. It'll be alright. Everything's unbolted inside anyway. So all we got left now, clean up these edges, flatten it back out from prying and beating on it, and get it ready to install the new cowl. Figure out what the heck this foam is they use. It's probably a fire retardant foam seam sealer of some sort. Now, what I found out on this, oh yeah, there's a couple of bolts here you take out also for your center speaker mount if you have one. So let's look at the back sides of these 2 cowls. Again, non-air conditioned cowl, has a hole in both sides. I don't need that one. So let's see what kind of shape this is in, and maybe I can just cut that out and weld it in place on that one. Let me orient these so they match better. Pretty much everything we need from one cowl to the next is in place, bracket wise, except these 2 pieces right here. Those were the center, that was the bolt, and the ground wire bolt went in there. Those 2 are not on the new one. I don't understand why. It holds the motor up. I can't imagine that's the difference between air conditioned and non-air conditioned, but those are going to have to get cut off and welded to the new one. That'll be fun. All the other tabs seem to be pretty much in place. Don't get too excited about all this mess down here. Not seeing it here. Those are part of the upper column. I just didn't bother cutting off that one. Column, cowl, whatever. So I set the new one in place already just to test fit. Seems like it's actually a halfway decent fit. Never know what you're going to get from aftermarket companies. These holes line up, those holes line up for the export braces for the most part. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, that's for darn sure. Everyone you ever talk to restoring a car, replacing quarter panels, they all require some light massaging. So I'm happy with that. That'll be good enough. One thing you'll notice is there are no holes anywhere. So you're pretty much going to have to start drilling holes to redo all your spot welds. One thing I can recommend is a good set of drill bits. I know a lot of people buy the spot weld cutters and then complain they wear out too fast. Years of drilling crap and learning, especially working with stainless, is get a set of drill bits rated to drill stainless, made of cobalt. That will make your life so much easier. Second thing I learned drilling metal, drill slow. Drilling stainless, you can't go fast, you have to drill slow. And I learned that drilling fast on sheet metal or steel versus drilling slow really doesn't make that much of a difference time-wise, but what it does do is will allow your bits to last longer, because the hotter your drill bit gets, the quicker it's going to wear out. I can drill a hole in this metal at slow speed and then grab the tip and it's not even hot. It's just a longevity thing. Let's pop the upper on there and see what that looks like. Maybe we can make this thing look like a car again one day. Exciting. Got our fender extensions. This one wasn't in near as bad a shape as the other one. A little work here and there to make it fit better. But that is not an ideal fit right there. A little massaging to get that in place. This is the new one I got in the mail today. This one came from CJ Pony Parts. Hey, that's backwards. I wonder it doesn't look right. Little metal repair to do there from prying the old one out. Keeping this from sitting right, but looks pretty good. One thing that sucks is the old ones had the part number stamped here. These do not, because they're not original equipment, so that'll be a telltale sign for the next person who owns this car after I'm long dead. That D1ZB, which is backwards, unless you hold it this way. D1ZB. I guess if you wanted to get real creative, you could buy yourself a punch set and stamp it yourself. Not that important to me. Only doing this because I don't want water all over the floor every time it rains. This is way more work than I ever intended on doing on this car. I bought this car in 1990. I was looking for that earlier. Drove it for about 4 months in 91. The transmission started slipping. And my dad talked me into buying a newer vehicle because I needed something reliable. And it hasn't been on the road since. It has ran. drove it on and off the trailer to get in the garage here when we moved. I guess jumping in head first on doing the most difficult part of sheet metal I can think of was probably not the wisest. It still needs quarter pound of work. The passenger seat pan has a little rust, probably due to the cowl being rusted out and leaking water in it. Other than that, floor pan's in good shape. The reason the quarter panels really need to be replaced is this car had been rear-ended at some point and it was repaired poorly. They had probably a ½ inch of Bondo on both quarter panels back there. Otherwise, I mean, for a 71, 73, this car does not have the rust in the usual places. My dad has a 72 we bought when I was 15, and that sucker, the quarter panels are so rusted out. And they weren't repaired properly. Maybe one day when I inherit the car back, we'll worry about that. I'm going to have to invest in some more vice grips, I guess. But, yeah, so far it looks good. I'm happy. We get these things clamped down and welded back in place. Structural rigidity will be returned. Guys are into March Madness at all. I don't watch college basketball pretty much at all, unless it's a team I actually like. But I do love watching March Madness and making a bracket, and I want to thank Louisville for busting my bracket first game of the day out of the box. Thank you. Good night. And then Clemson and Georgia. Come on, killing me. Maybe Duke can get upset today and just ruin every one of the world's brackets. Put some nasty undercoating on here. I don't know what all this is. I might have to research this foam sealer they put on here. Also a good time, if like me you need to replace your heater coil down in there, or yeah. This was an AC car. The AC condenser is long gone. So I'm going to go ahead and take the heater box out, and then we'll put in the appropriate parts so we can have heat and cooling if I ever do decide to put an air conditioner back in this car. I can't imagine I will. I've always been a windows down kind of guy.
Oh, cool. Thank you today.
Sure was a lot of nasty insulation in here. 54-year-old garbage floating everywhere. Plus I had apparently a squirrel decide to eat a bunch of nuts and left acorn shells all over in here. This car spent the majority of its life in a garage, but there was a stint of time where I had to have it outside because I didn't have room, and that's when I discovered I had a leak there. By the way, I used a 3/8 inch drill bit to drill my spot welds. Good times. You ever set a tool down and can't figure out what you did with it? That's me every 5 minutes. There we go. This is some really rubbery, sticky foam glue crap. Really kind of consider myself fortunate that this is the extent of the rust up here because it easily could have went down into the firewall. That would suck. At that point, I might have been looking for another car. I already told myself if I ever do another car, it'll never need body work. I hate doing body work. You build the engine, put it in, swap transmissions, whatever. I don't like body work. It's like hanging sheetrock. I don't mind hanging sheetrock. Don't make me finish it. Oh. Yeah, Duke's up 15-4, so. Now you know what time of day it is. Sheet metal's in really good condition here. A couple spots I might have to do a little repair where I nicked it a little bit with a cutoff wheel, but a lot of people use an air chisel to take this crap apart. I would highly recommend against that because you'll quickly go into sheet metal you don't want to damage and screw it up. So I got some of that going for me too. Plus they're loud. What's left of these spot welds. Got all these nuts loose on the heater box. I was trying to take this thing out a while back. Couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it out. Now I know, because there's a bolt here you can't see. You got your vacuum hoses. It's just more proof that sunlight and heat ruins things. These vacuum hoses are 54 years old and they're pliable and look like new. Because they've been in the shade. Alright, so alright, so we've got our heater controls on the side over here that are holding us up too. Let's not forget to remove those. There's a vacuum line that needs to come off. Here's a vacuum line that's already off. That'll be fun figuring out where those go later. Jars of bolts. These have been in jars. And now I take this apart. Probably 93, 94 when I started taking this thing apart the first time. Alright, looks like we need a 1/4 inch. Oh darn it, I just ruined my glove box. It's going to replace that anyway. It's not in the best shape. I just made it worse. Husky ratcheting wrenches for Christmas a couple years ago for my wife, and they have been awesome. Anyway. Oopsie, where'd the screw go? There's a vacuum diagram for this one for we just go later.
I got a bad hat. I used to have really good memory about taking stuff apart and remembering where it went. Used to.
It might have been one of the bolt screws that was in the dash that doesn't actually go in the dash. I had about 4 different types of screws in the dash of this thing. Here's our gasket. Toast. Screw go. Where did that bolt go? Oh, that might have been the seat bolt. Just rusted out. Yeah, I dropped that earlier. Can't see a thing.
There's another outside bolt. There it is.
It's just best to put the screw back where it came from. And you don't forget. That's not the right screw. It's a Phillips head. Oh, what in the heck?
It's also inspiration to find inspiration.
Acorn. Do, where did the screw go? Took the seat out, I found 32 cents and a socket. It's not mine. It is now. Pretty nasty looking, I think it's worth. Anyway. Where did that screw go? This penny's been down in water so long it's green. There's parts of it missing and it doesn't feel the right weight.
There it is.
1/4 inch drive. Metal screw. Blend door on these are vacuum actuated. Oh my god, look at all the rust coming out of that. So the modulator gets a little vacuum, holds that in, that's closed, releases. I have to test that with a vacuum pump, make sure it still works. Pretty simple design. Pop these clips off. See metal repair with some self-tapping sheet metal screws. No, not self-tapping, just sheet metal screws. And I can't remember if that's something my dad did or if a previous owner did that. The box probably is cracked and therefore this piece didn't have any structural rigidity to it. Say that 3 times real fast. Can't even say it once. A lot of holes in here, which is surprising. You wouldn't think there'd be that many holes on the side. 3 holes there, hole there, hole there, bunch of holes there. Why? Interesting. Makes you wonder. Oh well. There's another part to go on the shelf for another day. basically get this out of here. It's like just some Phillips head screws. Wasn't in terrible shape. Cardboard though, and it's 54 years old. Damn, I bumped it with a heater box getting it out. Well, there's a drain vent too that hooks to the bottom. It doesn't look like it's hooked up. Looks a little clogged, just a rubber hose. Vent tubes. This goes here and connects over to your dash vents. One for the other side there. Now that's one other thing you've got to worry about too. You've got your dash, your defrost vents.
Who recorded over my game footage?
This way? Yeah. I think. No. That's stupid. This way. There's these clips. This one, the plastic broke on this side. And basically they just slide under notches, and you got to get this out. That attaches to your upper cowl also. And it just sits in place with your dash. Interesting that there's no screws to hold that in place. The amount of plastic they used even back then is mind blowing. Got to keep track of where things go. Seat bolts and a nut for the driver's side. Put it on the shelf right next to the driver's seat. Thing I thought was pretty cool when I bought this car and looked in the glove box. These stickers were in there. Clean house with Dewey and Ford and Dole. So Ford Dole. That has to be 76. Dewey, I don't remember. I was never given my presidents. Yeah, this is a view from this side of this brace that you have to take the bolt out to remove the cowl. Here's where I did a little damage to the glove box, taking the heater box out. Train vent. Good time to check all your vacuum lines. Go through your wiring, look for signs of cracking, mice, any unwanted visitors, speaker wires. Pulled the speaker out of this thing. Excuse the garage, it's a mess. It's hard to remodel a house and work on a car. This was the center speaker. You can see the holes on the edge. Stamping and part numbers in really good shape. I appreciate the fact it says made in the USA. You don't see that anymore. Well, there it is. One rusty section out. One new one ready to go in. Well, I think that's going to be all for today. You missed a bunch of boring work. I will say drilling it was going about 10 times faster than trying to grind and cut the spot welds. When I got down to where I just had a few spot welds left along the firewall edge, I was able to get a cutoff wheel in there. And just at that point it just came out. So I really thought I'd feel more overwhelmed than this. Yeah, I guess because taking things apart has always been fun and easy for me. It's putting crap back together I was never good at. Alright, well, hopefully next time we post a video, we're putting things back together.